everyone, this is Cheryl Grace, and she is so graceful. I should say that. She has been a friend to me for the last, 3 or 4 years, I think.
It's been a little longer than 3 or 4 years. I've been married for almost 4 years. So
Oh, yeah. Okay. So
it's been like 6.
it's been about 6. She's been a friend to me. She is a corporate executive. And we're going to talk about all of that, but I need you all to know that Cheryl is part of the reason I made it to California. And we're going to unpackage some of that in our conversation. She doesn't have all day, though I could talk to her all day, but she is a part of the reason that I made it to California. And I want what she gave to me, I want you to understand how valuable that is in this conversation. So the first thing I want to know is, how are you doing? How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing well. I am, as I like to say, blessedly bored.
Okay.
Because I feel that it is a privilege to be bored right now at home because we are safely sequestered away. And during business hours, I'm not bored, but during the evenings and weekends, things are a little bit slow because we're sequestered in quarantine, but we're blessed.
Yeah, and the other thing is, you're used to being from airport to airport, flight to flight, hotel to hotel. So
Yeah.
I can only imagine how this slowing down and quarantining has impacted you.
So it's been really very interesting because what I've been able to do is I've gotten into cooking. I always like to cook, but I never really have time to cook.
Right.
And so I've gotten into cooking. I've been entertaining. We've got my niece and her 2 young boys who are staying sequestered with us. And so
Wow.
I've been entertaining a 2-year-old, and that has certainly been interesting. And just really practicing a lot of self-care, I have to say.
Yes. Yes. Wow. So again, Cheryl is a 20 plus year executive for a Fortune 500 company what's unique about you, I believe, and many women have done it, but in terms of this conversation, you were very satisfied in your career, very flourishing career aspirations, and you decided that you wanted to start your own company. You didn't leave the Fortune 500 company though, which people tend to think they have to choose, right? Like, I'm going to save up all of this money and I'm going to leave and I'm going to start my own thing. You didn't do that. So I want you to tell us how you manage both. But before that, I'd like you to tell us about Powerful Penny, which is your brand name and the name of your company, so that people can know more about what you do and why you do it, and more importantly, how you do it.
Thank you. So Powerful Penny is an aspirational lifestyle brand that I founded a couple of years ago. And I did it because it helps young people get to their next level of best in 6 core areas of their lives. And the core areas are relationships, prosperity, family, how to look and live fabulous, because I do believe it is possible for you and your home to look great at the same time. And the other 2 are Diva Lux. And Diva Lux is for those who make $150,000 a year or more, or those aspiring to make $150,000 or more, how to live that life, what that looks like. If you come from a family who didn't have people who made those kinds of incomes before, you may not know then how to gracefully accept that level of affluency. And so, and then did I do 6? Relationships, family, career, prosperity, looking and living fabulous, and Diva Lux. So those are the 6 areas. And I came up with those 6 areas simply because, Mischa, when you are successful in a professional environment, people sometimes only see you as that person. And they think that you can't necessarily be anyone else beyond that. but I have family dysfunction that goes on in my life. All families have dysfunction. And if you think you don't have dysfunction going on in your family, then the dysfunctional person is you.
I love it. I love it.
Relationships are important no matter how high of a level you seek in your profession. Making sure that you have balance in how you look and how your home looks. Those are all elements and multidimensional pillars of myself. And I didn't necessarily have anyone pointing out ways that I could do things better. And so I launched this website, powerfulpenny.com, and my business to help others get to that next level of best, whatever best looks like for you in those 6 areas. And that's why I started it. When I started off, nobody would help me in my career. And I just felt like we needed to know we can show up being a multidimensional person, not just that career corporate, unapproachable person.
I love it. And like you, when I started out 20 something years ago as a business owner, there was nobody there to guide me either. And it wasn't until I developed a name for myself, and I'm sure you can identify with this, that people were more apt to say, what can I do? Take your phone calls and things like that. So I certainly see the value in what you're offering to people who would be, so in addition to the 150,000 mark person, is there an age limit in terms of your ideal client?
No. So the beauty about what I offer is that it runs the gamut from someone just starting out to someone who may be in mid-level management and needs to make that step up the rung and just isn't sure how to step up the rung. It may be someone such as myself in their 50s who decided to get remarried or to get married for the first time. And how do you look for love when you're in your 50s, right? So that's a whole separate thing.
Whole nother conversation, right? And but you do amazing workshops on that topic. So are you going to offer any of those virtually while we're quarantining?
That's a good idea. We could offer those workshops virtually because especially now, what I've seen is that so many of my friends who are single are spending a lot of time thinking, wow, I wish I was here with someone. Whereas those of my friends who are married, it's like, Lord Jesus, if we don't kill each other before we get out of this house. So
right. And it's being able to appreciate both spaces, right?
Yeah.
Because there's some value in being alone and living alone like I am, but also reflecting on what you want in a partner, what love looks like for you, how you're going to show up differently on the other side of this quarantine. And also for the couple who were 2 ships passing in the night, but all of a sudden are really looking at each other and say, oh my goodness, I didn't even know. I'd read last week that Jada Pinkett Smith had on the Red Table that after 20 something years of being married, the quarantine has shown her she doesn't know Will Smith at all. I don't know how much of an exaggeration that is, but she says she has no idea who he is. So they are spending this time having to become friends, starting at ground zero. So let me just say, I do see value in you putting on some of your seminars, even while we're quarantining. People are using Zoom for a whole lot of things.
That's a great idea. And maybe that's just maybe one other thing I'll add to my plate.
Oh, Lord. I didn't mean to really make you busier than you
are. That's a great idea.
But let me say this. So notwithstanding, speaking of busy, the busy life that you have, you also find time to mentor. And I will share that Cheryl was kind enough to allow me to come to Chicago for a couple of days. I just put everything on hold, booked my flight, and secured my hotel room, and was able to spend a day with Cheryl at her office. But we didn't just talk about her work. We talked about who Mischa wanted to be, how I was going to get there, and we used some prominent strategies from Powerful Penny, the pink elephant, and we're going to talk about that. But why is mentoring so important to you, particularly in a world where successful women tend to overlook women who are not as successful as them, right? When did mentoring become so important to you, and why?
When the successful women that I reached out to when I was just starting out felt that I wasn't important enough
Mm.
to garner their attention.
Mm.
And so I decided at that point, if I ever became successful, or if I was ever in a position to help other people, that I would not turn anyone away who was looking for a mentor. And so to this day, anyone who has reached out to me and said, I need a mentor, I have had at least one phone conversation with that person. Now, not all people who say they want a mentor are willing to do the work.
That's the key. That is so true.
Yeah. And so I tend to continue working with people, and people who come back to me are those who are willing to do the work, because you can't get to where you want to be without putting in the work. This all doesn't just happen seamlessly. You have to work to get there. You have to be very mindful of it. You have to be very strategic about it. And most people don't think that they need to. They think things are just going to come to them without having to do any of the hard work, without having to raise a flag and say, hey, over here, I'm good at this or I'm good at that. They think that if I just do a great job, put my nose down, keep it, pressing forward, that's all that it's going to take. And that's not the reality.
Yeah, and it really, really isn't. I wanted to know, what would you advise women to be doing in terms of the conversations they need to have with their mentors now, or conversations that would be beneficial, because this is a difficult time. We keep talking about how unprecedented a time it is. How would you best suggest women use the mentors in their lives right now?
This is a fabulous time right now. It's all in perspective, right? And so the reason this is a fabulous time is everybody is on a level playing field.
Mm.
Everybody is at home, or
Mm.
they're somewhere. They may not be home, but they're somewhere sequestered. And everyone is looking for something else to do or some way to stay connected. Now is the time to reach out to people who may have been too busy in the past to give you the time of day. Now is the time to use your social media platforms to really be social. So to use that messenger feature on Facebook, or to use the DM on LinkedIn to reach out to individuals that you admire and respect, or that you had hoped to be a mentee of, and say, I've followed your career. I am now looking for an opportunity to have a one-on-one conversation with you while the world has slowed down. Is this a good opportunity for you to talk to me about my desire to do X, Y, and Z? Now's a great time for that.
Yeah, yeah. Speaking of mentoring and
Yeah.
taking that topic a little deeper, you started a virtual mentoring series
I
on
did.
YouTube, right? And it's called Live from the Pink Couch.
Yes.
And I watched episodes and I was just like, look at Cheryl, she is doing her thing. Because of course it reminded me so much of my time with you sitting at your office. I could certainly play back that whole day as I'm looking at you work with these women through their particular goals. And I like how intentional you are about putting the onus back on the individual to do what they say they want to do, right? So talk to us a little bit about Live from the Pink Couch.
So Live from the Pink Couch is a mentoring web series. We started off airing live every second and fourth Sunday. And that was before the pandemic set in and the sequestering. And so now the live doesn't necessarily happen live because the bandwidth, everybody's on their computers now. And so we record the conversations and then I post them. But Live from the Pink Couch is a way to help not just the young women, or I shouldn't even say young, because we range in age from 23 to 55. But it's a group of diverse women that I call hashtag next level tribe, because they're all trying to get to their next level.
Right.
And they each have 5 really distinct career problems, opportunities, desires that they're trying to map out. And so we use what I call, and you've referenced it a couple of times now, the pink elephant philosophy. And pink elephant is your most audacious goal that you're trying to achieve, but you can't necessarily do it on your own.
Yes.
You need to lean into faith, and you need the help of others in order to get that goal achieved. That's a pink elephant. And so these 5 women have identified their pink elephant goals, and I'm helping each of them get to it. And each goal, each pink elephant has to have a definitive time in place, right?
Can you define really quickly the whole pink elephant concept for those who may not really understand or have never heard of it?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. A pink elephant is your most audacious goal, right? That you can't accomplish by yourself, that you need to lean into the help of others.
Okay.
And you need to lean into faith.
Okay.
That's a pink elephant goal.
Right.
And what we try to make sure that you do is that you develop a pink elephant that is smart. So smart means it's strategic, it's measurable, it's attainable, it's realistic, and it's time-based. I didn't make that up. Smart, look up SMART goals. But those are really great ways to ensure that you're going to stay focused. And so we're helping them achieve their pink elephants. And one pink elephant is, she wanted to get her first job after graduating out of college, making $50,000 a year. She wanted to do that by June 2020. She got her job in April. So we were like ahead of the curve for her. And once you achieve your pink elephant, you get booted out of the tribe. It's the only tribe that I know of that is a good thing to be booted out of, because it means you did what you said you wanted to do.
Right. And so if I could just, for people, because, and the reason I want to define this is because it was very helpful to me. The pink elephant also is derived from, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. And so just the taking small bites from this big audacious goal that seems overwhelming, what Cheryl does is she teaches how to take one little piece. So for example, when I was moving to California, or considering moving to California, I thought I had to find a house. I thought I had to pack all of my stuff up and move. I thought I had to, it was just so many things. And Cheryl said, no, wait a minute. What about getting an Airbnb? And what about leaving all of your stuff in storage in Baltimore until you settle down on where you actually want to live? I can't even tell you, Cheryl, how doable that made, how much more doable that made moving to California. Because thinking about renting a house, locating a house in a place you've never lived. I did come here a couple of months before to kind of just do some scouting, but it still felt overwhelming. So when you gave me permission to just look at an Airbnb, it was everything. And so for the person who, as you just talked about, is looking at this big old goal, and you can figure out what is the smallest bite of that big goal that you have, it makes a world of difference.
So small bites are how pink elephants get eaten.
Yes.
And so often, as you said, we get overwhelmed with the reality of what we think our dream is going to require of us.
Yes.
And so then we don't do anything. We get stuck. We get paralyzed. We put our head in the sand. We bury it there until, we wake up miserable. Like, why am I still in this cold in Baltimore when I want to be in the fresh sunshine of California?
Exactly.
Right? So what you have to do is you have to say, let's just divide these up. When the first thing is time-based, everything has to be time-based. So when do you want to be in California by? Yes. What's the date? And then we work backwards from there.
That's right.
And so like, if today you were saying that you wanted to be in California a year from now, the first thing that you could do is just pick up a phone or pick up a computer and find Airbnbs and just look at that. And that's all you have to do for that day. But then you wake up the next day and you're like, whoa, I looked at all these Airbnb places. Now I'm going to call the place.
Right.
Oh, what?
Right.
And you just go from there, little bite, little bite, little bite, a nibble every single day moves you forward.
It does. And you know, even now, let's just hone in on today. A lot of people lost their jobs, right? A lot of people can't pay their rent or their mortgage or their car note. People are in need of food. And when you put all of that together, it really could make you feel overwhelmed, right? So, as opposed to looking at the bigness of all of that, where would you suggest that person start today who's in that position?
So, my suggestion would be to start with what's keeping you up most at night. Is it the car payment? Is it paying the landlord or the mortgage? You know, what is keeping you up the most? Is it hunger and not having food from your family? And I would start there. If it's the mortgage, pick up the phone and call the bank. If it's the landlord, pick up the phone and call the landlord and be as honest. We're all in this together. We keep hearing that. And so I've been reading how some landlords are being very reasonable and being lenient on when the rent can be paid. Some are not. You need to just first of all understand who you're dealing with. Are you dealing with a landlord who's lenient, or are you dealing with a hard nose? And if you're dealing with a hard nose, well, we're going to deal with that tomorrow. But for today, we know who we're dealing with, right? Yeah. If food is a concern, figure out what the options are for getting food for your family. Are there food banks close by? You have to do one at a time. You can't look at it in a big, huge, like growing ball of frustration and anguish, because you will shut down.
Right.
You will shut down.
Right, right. And I think you've answered my next question, but I wanted to ask you, what would you advise us to stop doing in terms of not being focused? Because trying to be focused right now is a lot, right? We're watching the news, we're listening to the radio, we're watching the TV. It's just so much COVID-19, coronavirus. What should we stop doing to be more focused on the pink elephant?
So the number one thing I'm going to tell you to stop doing, and it's going to sound counterintuitive.
Okay.
But the number one thing you should stop doing is worrying. Stop worrying. There was a movie that Tom Hanks was in, and it was called The Spy Bridge or The Bridge Spy. I forget the name of the movie, but Tom Hanks, it was based in the 40s or 50s, and he played a lawyer to a guy who was caught being a double agent. And he knew, the guy knew that if they found him guilty in the United States and turned him back over to his country, they were probably going to kill him. And so this man had a lot to be worried about. And yet, whenever Tom encountered him, he was cool as a cucumber. And so Tom said to him 3 times in this movie, and that's why these words stick out to me, because I use them on myself now. So Tom said to him the first time when he was meeting him in jail, he was like, "You're very calm for someone who's in jail, like who's been caught being a spy. Aren't you worried? Don't you worry?" And the guy says, "Would it help? Would worrying help?" And then another time they're sitting in the courtroom and, they're about to go before the trial. And Tom says again, "You're very calm. Are you not worried?" The guy says, "Would it help? Is my worrying going to change anything?" And then the third time, as they are making the transition, that he's about to walk the guy across the border in exchange for another spy. And either as soon as the guy's foot steps over the line, he could be shot to death. And so Tom says, "Still not worried?" And the guy was like, "Is that going to help me? Like, whatever they're going to do right now to me, they're going to do. My worrying about it is not going to reshape this situation." And that's what I would recommend. I would recommend have an inner faith that God is going, as long as you're doing your part, you're social distancing, you're washing your hand, you're sequestering, you're doing what you can do. The rest of it, you can't worry about.
Right. Right.
That
Amen.
would be the number one thing I would say is stop worrying, put your trust in whatever your higher being is, do your part, and practice your faith.
Awesome. Wonderful. I love that. Now you're making me want to see the movie.
It's a very good movie. It's a spy movie. You got to watch it. But would it help? Does worrying help? If it doesn't help, don't waste your time.
Yeah. I am a firm believer that we must have daily practices of care. And I was wondering from you, what does that look like for Cheryl? How are you practicing self-care in these times, and particularly when we're, as you said, all sequestered and quarantined inside?
Yeah. So it took me a bit of time to get into this routine. I've been sequestered more than most from a time perspective. I was sequestered as of March 8th because I had been at a conference where someone had tested positive and they told us. And so I've been in the house since March 8th.
Oh my.
March 8th, people.
March 8th. Coming up in 2 months.
March 8th. So, and I made one venture out to the grocery store. It made me a nervous wreck, and I swore I would never go to the grocery store again during these times. So I haven't.
What are you doing? You're ordering your food to come to you?
By ordering food in, and then my husband also goes to the grocery store. He like puts on all his stuff, and he goes to the grocery store.
Okay.
So the first 3 weeks, I would say I didn't maximize my internal time, right? But small bites, I developed a routine that works for me. And I wrote out the routine and I put it on my bathroom mirror so that I know what it looks like. So first of all, I decided to change my mindset. I'm not trapped inside my house. I am at a luxurious retreat.
Hey now.
At a resort that is exclusive. And I'm fortunate enough to be here.
Amen.
That's how I look at where I am. So, and then, the retreat organizers have mapped out my day for me.
Wow.
And so it starts with reading meditating and journaling first thing in the morning. I drink a 16-ounce bottle of water first thing in the morning before my feet even hit the floor.
Wow.
While I'm journaling and reading. And then we're at our lake house. And so I go walk along the lake. I go down, there's a steep incline that you have to take to get to the shore. In the summertime, when we're generally here, girl, I take the golf cart down that little hill. I have been here and I decided I'm on this retreat. I go down that hill and I come back up 2 times a day.
Really?
In the morning and in the evening, because that's something that I can control.
Yes.
I can control whether or not I go down that hill and whether I come back up. Because if I get down there and I decide I can't make it up, ain't nobody coming to get me. Although I do tell my husband every morning when I leave, okay, now if a half hour goes by and I haven't come back, you come looking for me, okay?
Right.
I set a routine for myself. I make sure I take a shower because originally in that first 14 days, that first 2 weeks, I was working in my pajamas and blocking the screen so people couldn't see me. No, girl, I make sure I take a shower. I put on clothes because it makes me feel better.
Yes, that's right. It does.
So I have worked out a routine. And I try to follow it. I'm not perfect every single day and I cut myself some slack on it. But just the fact that I can say, I have a routine. Here it is. This is it makes me feel mentally better. And I feel like I'm at this resort. Wonderful. I have myself a green smoothie, because that's what they do at resorts. They give you at a retreat, they give you smoothies. We exercise, my niece and I, we exercise every night. And then I do my heel. So, and I feel connected because we have a lot of deer out here, and seeing the deer whether they run from me or whether they stay, and we have these stare down contests because I'm like, I'm not moving. Are you moving? It just makes me feel connected to nature, and I feel God's power.
Amen.
And God's power is all up in this.
Amen. And one of the things I love about what you said is anybody who follows you on social media know that you take your home very seriously, that it is a sanctuary for you, and you walk some of us through up close and personal. You're transforming your cottage and all of that. And you remind me that it's a great time for anybody who's challenged with home not feeling like the sanctuary or the retreat they want it to be, to make it as such. And I actually have been having that conversation with one of my coaching clients who was running so much, she didn't even realize she had let some things go in her home so much. And week by week, she's fixing it up and she's getting some things done. And every week when we get on the Zoom call, she's telling me, Mischa, I'm feeling so much better because I did this and I did that. So thank you so much for reminding us that our home should be a retreat and a sanctuary.
It should be. It should be the place that you go that you want to escape to. Not escape from, but escape to.
Amen. My last question, because like I said, you don't have all day to talk to us, is I'm also a firm believer in gratitude. I know that gratitude makes everything better. And a lot of people say it's easier said than done, but it really, really works if you work it. Wanted to know today, May the 5th, 2020, what is Cheryl Grace most grateful for?
So first of all, you need to know I do a gratitude journal every single day, like in the morning, right? So I do these gratitude journals, and and so I'm grateful for having love in my life.
Amen.
And because I think there are so many people out there, there's an increase in domestic violence right now. There's an increase in child abuse right now, where not everyone has the love that they need in their homes. Yeah. And I am grateful that I am surrounded by love.
Amen.
And that is something that should not be taken for granted. And that's not to say you can't get on each other's nerves when you're like, 24/7 up on top of each other. However, I'm grateful for love. Amen. And I would say that that's the number one thing I start off with, because it hasn't always been this way. Like, if I imagine if I had been sequestered with my ex-husband, be a different story, right? Right. So I'm grateful for love.
Amen. Amen. Well, I am grateful for you, and I'm grateful for who you have been to me, and I'm grateful for the deposits that you have made and continue to make in my life. And I'm also grateful that you don't count it robbery to extend yourself out to other people. And so even as people are trying to find the patience they need in this season to manage life, God bless you for being a person who gives of yourself in the way that you do.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm just so proud of you. When you told me that you made it, I literally cried. I don't know who was more excited, me or you. I think maybe me a little bit more than you, but I literally cried because I knew how important this move was for you when you made the move. And when you were down, you had so many doubts, Mischa.
Yeah, yes, I did.
And you just started listing them out. And I'm like, okay, well, can we just tackle the one first and then go to the next one and go to the next one? And the reality of the situation was that, those circumstances were not going to necessarily change whether you were in Baltimore or not. So you can still have those same circumstances, but let's do it in the sunshine.
Exactly.
Yeah, right? So yeah. I'm very, very proud of you and all that you have accomplished.
Thank you. Enjoy the rest of your day. Enjoy
your retreat.
Yes, ma'am. I have certainly made this a retreat for me. So I always do just thank God every time I come in the door, because I also know it doesn't have to be this way. There are a lot of people who don't have a house to come into. So I'm extremely grateful for that.
Good for you. Continue helping others. I love what you're doing.
Thank you. I look forward to hearing about some of your seminars coming up soon.
Okay, you've inspired me to start those up.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I love Cheryl. Could you tell? I love her. She is so real and so honest and just a graceful person. Like I said, when I started out introducing her, I love her and I thank you for tuning into our conversation. Again, I hope it was helpful. And I look forward to talking to you on next week. Bye bye.